Hey everybody, welcome to day 58. We are almost to the end of the 60-day novel writing challenge, so today we are going to be talking about satisfying endings to our books. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button below, go ahead and click it now, and whatever it is you're drinking today, grab a cup, cozy up, and let's get to writing. So we talked about the climax in other videos, really the resolution to the whole overarching conflict. But what we want to talk about today is a little bit different. It's what comes after the climax, the actual ending to the book. And the thing about this is that these are kind of tricky because they are very subjective. And so no matter what you write for an ending, I promise there will be people who love it and there will be people who hate it. So I'm just here to share with you guys what I love and what I hate about endings, and you can take it or leave it because honestly there really is no formula on how to do an ending correctly. So we're going to start with the things that I don't like about endings. And so I want to start by saying abrupt endings are just not doing it for me, because we have the whole story, we are so invested, and we get all the way to the climax, we see the resolution, and the book's like, all right, it's over, see you guys later. Please leave your popcorn containers in the garbage cans on your way out. You know, the ending of the book is just a beautiful opportunity to showcase what we loved about the story one last time. So maybe that's the character relationships, their amazing friendship that they have with each other that makes us laugh and we love to read about it. Or that can be in the romance where the people finally get to live happily ever after. Give your readers a little taste of that because they worked so hard for it. You know, they read all the way through the story and all of the plot points. They deserve to get that happy ending also. But if you end the story right after the people get together, it's like, why did I read all this? I didn't get any satisfaction out of it. Now, on the other hand, endings can sometimes be drawn out a little bit too long as well. So we don't want the ending to go too far past the climax of the story. You know, once the plot is resolved, we want a little bit more after that, but don't go too far. There's actually a difference in the Lord of the Rings movies versus the books. And if you guys are fans, you probably already know this, but in the books, after the ring has been cast into the fires and the friendship prevails and the great climax of the whole series comes to a close, in the books, there's actually a whole nother battle for the Shire that happens after that, but in the movies, they took that out because the main climactic moment of that entire series to those movie producers was when the ring went back into the volcano. So I'm not here to say that that was written poorly, but there was a decision made for the movie to take that part out because they didn't feel that it was necessary after they had already reached really the climactic moment of the series. One important thing is that you do need to be true to your genre. So if you're writing a cozy romance, it is very much assumed that that is going to have a happy ending. So, you know, I know a lot of us want to like throw in a plot twist and take people by surprise, but there is a difference between taking people by surprise and giving them a book that is not what they wanted. And so if a character picks up a cozy romance, it's probably because they want a happy ending, and if you don't give it to them, they actually do get very upset if it is not what they thought they were signing up for. And so, you know, we do want plot twists and we want things to take our readers by surprise, but not in the sense that we want to give them a book other than what they want to read. But let me tell you, if you're writing young adult, you can do whatever you want with the ending. It can be happy, it can be tragic, it can make you want to throw the book across the room, which has definitely happened on more than one occasion. So just know what your genre is and what the expectations are so that you are staying within them and not getting your readers upset with you. Or if you are, it's in the right way. Like, nobody's gonna get upset if your young adult book makes them cry, because that does sometimes happen, and that is an expectation that we have as readers. And I will tell you guys, my biggest pet peeve for the endings of books, and this is of course subjective, this is just what I personally hate, and that is when authors completely undo the story that they have just put you through as a reader. So this would be like, for example, if anybody ever wrote 13 books and then at the very end had the main character go back in time and undo the past so none of the previous 13 books ever happened. That would be horrible. I'm not saying that did happen in a series, but if it did, I would be extremely upset. And yes, that was a real series and that really did happen and I'm still upset. But I seriously was the kid in the 3rd grade. You know, we'd write like the short stories and we'd trade them with our neighbor and we'd like correct them and say what we liked and didn't like. And when those other kids would hand me a story that ended with, and then I woke up and it was all a dream. Haley Fuchs was pulling out her red pen, and her third grade self was like, do not ever end a story like this. You have completely undone everything that just happened. Why did I read the rest of this? I was brutal. I guess it just goes to show that I've always been like this. But having the end of the book be along those lines of I woke up and it was all a dream completely undoes everything that you just did, everything that you just wrote. You're just saying, oh, BT dubs, that never happened. So that is probably the worst thing you can do with an ending in my own personal opinion. I hate it. But there are things that I do like in endings. One of the classic ways to end a story is to come full circle. So we almost come back to where we started in the beginning. So this would be like if you had a kid and at the beginning of the book they were getting bullied in the cafeteria and they just kind of like sat down and took it. This sort of ending would be that that kid goes on an adventure and becomes a braver, stronger, wittier person. And then at the end of the book, they come back to that same cafeteria, that same bully comes and tries to pick on them and they stand up to them. And they use everything that they learned throughout the course of the story to stand up to that bully because they are wiser and braver and they have grown as a character. You know, this would also be like the kids who go on their adventure to Narnia in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. They come back braver and stronger and wiser. They actually live like a whole lifetime over there. And then they have a new take on the world that they come back to. So having the story come full circle like that and come back to the beginning but show that growth and that change is a really classic way to end. So I actually really love when books have beautiful, happy endings as well. So this could be like a great wedding for the characters who we've been rooting for all along. Or this could be like a big birthday party for the kid who we thought was going to die throughout all of the book. Or it could be, you know, the characters are riding off in a carriage into the sunset towards their next adventure if adventure was important to them. Or maybe they're settling into the home that they spent the whole book building. Any of those would make a beautiful, happy ending, and they leave your reader with that nice, warm, fuzzy feeling of fulfillment, of satisfaction, and of just they really enjoyed the book and they want to read the next one. And then the last thing that I really enjoy that I find putting into my books pretty often in the endings is that the characters will have a kind of a discussion almost about the theme of the book. So, and not in the sense of like, I as an author want to hit you over the head with a moral hammer of like, this is the moral you were supposed to take away. But I like them having really deep discussions at the end of, did we do the right thing? And what is this going to lead to? And usually coming up with some sort of hope towards the future, because the endings of the books are not always the ending of the full story, especially if you are working in a series. So a lot of times they need to be looking towards the future, either with hope or with trepidation because there are more problems that are about to come up. But we do still want a solid ending in the book itself. I'm not really a fan of cliffhangers personally. I would much rather see the book wrap up, give me a satisfying ending, because if it's a cliffhanger, I feel like I'm not getting the fulfillment that I came here to read. I'm not getting what I was promised. I have to go read the next book to get that satisfaction of a full and complete story. So I don't really recommend using cliffhangers, but that is a matter of personal preference. It's just what I like in reading books. And then the last thing I want to talk about is epilogues. So epilogues are like that little snippet at the end of the book after the story is over of something else, either a different character's perspective or sometime in the future. And I don't often recommend prologues because I think that often we write a prologue that is too far removed from the story to actually make sense as being part of the story. But epilogues can be a really good tool for getting your readers interested in the next installment of the series. Because if readers were satisfied with the ending of the book and don't want to read the epilogue, they don't have to. But it can be a really good tool for enticing them into the next book, especially if you have like a different character other than the main character leading the epilogue. We can show somebody else's view as a new problem starts to arise because it's not part of the main book. It's almost like a separate story. It kind of leads you into the next book. So I have definitely used epilogues in that capacity, although with my 5th book in the Secrets of the Tally series being the very final one, I obviously can't do that again. I can't have the epilogue be something that leads into the next book because there is no next book. So what I think I'll do is more of the other epilogue model, which is showing a flash forward into the future of basically how everything turned out. So, you know, we had this whole story in the book, and then the epilogue could be like basically the they lived happily ever after, showing it instead of just telling you, showing what that happily ever after looks like for the characters. That would be most notably at the end of the Harry Potter series. You know, we get all the way through 7 books of this story, and then there is an epilogue at the end that shows who they all grew up to be and who they all married and what kids they have. And so after 7 books of Harry Potter and like growing up with him, which we truly did in our generation, having that epilogue at the end that showed how it all turned out was a really beautiful successful way to end it, and I really don't think that it could have been done any better. So if you are coming up on the ending of your novel, that is super exciting, and I hope that this has been helpful. Of course, it is all about that word count right now. So right now it's day 58. Yesterday we should have been at a total of 45,009, and I wrote 1,506 words for a total of 44,757. So I'm getting there. I'm almost caught up. All right, I'm gonna jump off and work on my word count today. So I will see you guys tomorrow for day 59 of the 60-day novel writing challenge.